Okay, for number five, looking at it, I'm told they have a triangle ABC. So before I go forward, I know that A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees. Or if you prefer, you can use radian measure. It doesn't really much matter at this point. The other thing I know is that I know A, B, and C all have to be uh, greater than zero. All right? But I am looking at something, a relationship over here, and I'll be honest with you, it looks like some kind of a sum to product or product to sum relationship. And I'm going to say it has something to do with what you learn in trigonometry, but I'm not seeing a clear relationship at this point, so I'm going to start to write things down. Let me go to the whiteboard to do that. And by the way, you could also say I'm looking at half angle formulas. It's possible. Maybe you're looking at half angle formulas too. But the first thing to do is I'm going to do these expansions like if I did the cosine of alpha plus beta, and maybe like the sine of alpha plus beta, things like that. But I'm not going to use alpha and beta. I'm going to put down cosine, and I'm going to say a over 2, because I'm seeing that in the original problem, by the way. I'm going to say b over 2. All right? And again, probably I'd also write down cosine of a over 2 minus b over 2. This reminds me of the derivation of the product sum formulas. But anyway, let's go through it. You get cosine a over 2, cosine b over 2, and there's going to be minus sine a over 2, and then sine of b over 2. The other one looks almost exactly like this, by the way. And again, this may be a dead end as well, but it sort of reminds what I did with product sum formulas in the past, by the way. Then someone says, what you could do over here? You could add these together. All right, what would you get? Cosine a over 2 plus b over 2 plus cosine a over 2 minus b over 2. All right? And what would this equal? It would equal 2 cosine a over 2 cosine b over 2. All right? Now I want to go back to the notes and look at what they have written down. And by the way, I do see cosines. I do see that. I do see this in the problem, by the way. I'll point out what I mean by this. In the original problem, and let me get my eraser out. I'll write down what the original problem looked like to me. I'm trying to verify an identity, by the way. They're telling me the sine of A plus the sine of B. This is an identity I do not know. I'm asked to verify it. And they're telling me this is equal to 4 cosine A over 2 times cosine B over 2 times cosine C over 2. I have an understanding, though, that A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees. And the other understanding I know is A, B, and C are positive. I know that much. All right? Now, again, I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I'm part the way there. I'm seeing some of it. I also want to write down the what I did with the sine functions. And someone says, do you remember the product of sum formulas? And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember them. But right now I've written down a variation of a product to sum formula over here. And I want to do the same thing for sines, and I'll write this one over here for you. Again, by the way, I'm going to say this is somewhat important at this point, because I'm seeing that, I'm seeing a sum and I'm seeing a product over there. May not be exactly what I wanted, but I'm getting sort of like something what I wanted. And let me write this over here, cosine. Not cosine, I just did cosine, right? I'm going to do sines now. And so sine A over 2 plus B over 2. What does that equal? And write this one down. And again, you should know these formulas over here. A over 2 cosine, let's see, B over 2. And then plus sine B over 2 times cosine A over 2. All right, let's put the next one down. The sine of A over 2 minus B over 2. And again, it remarkably looks the same to me. But again, this is what I would have done if I were just doing the product of sum formulas at this point. And what would I get over there? Let's write this down. Sine A over 2 plus B over 2. I'm adding these things together. And I get what? I get 2 sine A over 2 cosine B over 2. Now granted, not exactly what I wanted, but I do know there's some relationships that I haven't explored yet. But I'm going to claim it's another useful formula, by the way. It's another useful thing. You know what? I made a mistake here. I didn't realize it. Let me erase. I add things together, but I forgot to write down the addition. I'll write that down again for you. I said product of sum, and I was writing something that was not true, by the way. So sine A over 2 plus B over 2 plus the sine A over 2 minus B over 2. And that's what I meant to say about what is the sum formula. What do you get? 2 sine A over 2 cosine B over 2. And again, I'm going to say this is somewhat important. And again, I got a sum product. And I'm seeing there are some troubles, by the way. And someone says, what are the troubles over here? I'm seeing a sign when I don't really want a sign, do I? Let me think about this. All right? Let me think about this. And I'm going to start writing things that I do know. I know that A plus B plus C is 180 degrees. So I could write down C is equal to 180 degrees minus, well, I'm going to put down A plus B here. All right? The next thing I could probably do is, the half angle. I could certainly write that down. So I could probably write down C over 2 is equal to 90 degrees minus A plus B over 2. And then I could write down the cosine of C over 2 is equal to the cosine of 90 degrees minus A plus B over 2. I want to tell you that I have a cofunction identity here. And I can easily write this down now as the same thing as the sine of A plus B over 2. I'm using a cofunction identity where the angle theta is A plus B over 2. So the sine of A plus B over 2, same thing as cosine of 90 degrees minus that angle, which is A plus B over 2. So we got something that may be useful too. So let me take a look what I have over here and try to pull this all together. And I want to tell you what we're looking at. And what I'm looking at a couple of useful things over here. And let me see if I can write these things down. I'm going to see what I'm going to write down now. Well, I'm going to write this down now. 4 cosine A over 2 times cosine B over 2 times cosine C over 2. And by the way, I'm looking at the original problem. I'm hoping this thing will eventually lead to what? Let me make sure I'm leading it to the right thing that they said. They said sine A, sine B, and sine C. All right, let me show they said that. Sine A, sine B, sine C, yeah. And let me see what's on top over here. Again, I'm trying to prove an identity over here. I think I got enough information on to actually start filling things in now. Let's take a look at it. And as I do this over here, I'm going to be writing down things that I do know. All right? So let me just go back up here, and I'm wondering what I do know. And I'm looking at this thing over here. All right? I'm looking at it. And I'm looking at the 2 cosine A over 2 cosine B over 2. Well, I'm starting to see that. I'm going to write this down, 2. Then I'll write down 2 cosine A over 2 cosine B over 2. Then I get cosine of C over 2. All right. So let's go back up here. And I'm looking at this over here, 2 cosine A over 2 cosine B over 2. I'm seeing that here. And let me write that down now. That's 2 cosine A over 2 plus B over 2 plus cosine A over 2 minus B over 2 times the cosine of C over 2. Let me make sure I copied that right. Yeah, I think I did. Yep, I think I did. And granted, I'm still not seeing it. I'm going to keep moving forward, though. And the next thing I want to do is the cosine of C over 2. I think I did that before, too, right? Oh, yeah, look at that. I'll write that down. So 2 cosine A over 2 B over 2 plus cosine A over 2 minus B over 2. And the cosine of C over 2 was the sine A plus B over 2. I don't think I'm seeing something. Let's keep going. By the way, I'm going to have to keep, I realize that I'm not going to be able to fit it in, but I'll get there eventually. And let's expand this guy. And what do you get over here? You get 2 cosine. I'm going to write this so it looks like the other guy. A plus B over 2 times sine A plus B over 2 plus 2 cosine A minus B over 2 times sine A plus B over 2. Well, I noticed this. It's basically a double angle formula. So this part over here is going to be the sine of twice the angle, which would be A plus B. Again, it's not exactly what I wanted, but I got to keep rewriting it, right? So what do you get over here? 2 cosine A minus B over 2 sine A plus B over 2. I got to think now. Let's take a look at this one over here. And I got to think about it a little bit anyway. You're not going to write the first term as the sine 180 degrees minus C. And why is that? A plus B plus C is 180. So A plus B would be 180 minus C. All right, this is plus. We'll get to that in a moment. And I think I've seen this one before too. And what do you get over here? 2 cosine A minus B over 2 sine of A plus B over 2. Let's go back up here. Let me think about that. I gotta think carefully too. I think I could write something down over here. Let me start thinking about it too. And the cosine of a minus b over 2, the sine of a plus b over 2. That's the cosine, right? I'll put this over here. 2 cosine a minus b over 2, and then I'd get cosine. I want to be the sine of a plus b over 2 is just the cosine of c over 2. All right, let's keep moving. I'm getting close. And I keep rewriting it. And let's see. Cosine of a minus b over 2. I'm seeing that right over here, right? Let me write this one down now. This is going to be the sine of c. That's this term over here. Let me just verify that for you. I will erase it once I'm done verifying it. What do you get there? Sine of 180, cosine c, minus the sine c cosine 180 degrees. All right. What happens over here? The sine of 180 degrees is 0, so this cancels off. The cosine of 180 degrees is minus 1, so you do get sine of c. That works out beautifully. I got that part. All right, let's write this one down now. Oops. Plus, I got that too, don't I? Cosine a minus b. I gotta start thinking now. And let me see if I have that written down somewhere. You know, I'm going to back up a little bit and rewrite this one as sine a plus b over 2. I'm not going to go to c over 2. I want to go back and look at them again and see if I have that written somewhere. Cosine sine. And I do see it written somewhere. And I want to tell you where I'm kind of seeing it, but I'm not seeing it written in that form. And I want to just make sure I can do this in a kind of a clean-cut way. So I'm going to write this over here. I know the sine of a over 2. We derived this before, by the way. Let me just write it as sine a plus b over 2 plus the sine a minus b over 2 was equal to 2 sine a over 2 times a cosine of b over 2. All right? So I'm going to kind of rewrite so it looks sort of like this one over here. And I realize using the letters, You know, maybe I'll use different letters instead. Let me use x plus y over 2 sine x minus y over 2 equals 2 sine x over 2 times a cosine of y over 2. All right? With the understanding that y equals a plus b, I'm looking at this thing up here to say that. I'm sorry, a minus b. Let me write it a little differently. 2 cosine y over 2 times a sine x over 2. And let's see what we get over there. What would the y equal? The y would be a minus b. What would the x equal to? A plus b. Let me see if I can rewrite it. You get sine. What's x plus y? Well, if you look at it, if you did x plus y, you get 2a. And what's x minus y? That would be 2b. So I get something pretty simple here, don't I? I get sine of a and the sine of b. Let me write that down. And let me see if that's what I want to get, by the way. You got to go back in the notes and look at the original question. And the original question says, oh, we're supposed to show, by the way, that the sum of these three angles, sine A plus sine B plus sine C, was equal to what they said it was. This was a tough, in my opinion, was tough anyway. Again, I had suspicious part to some formulas. I kind of went through that. I did have to do some jumbling towards the end because I got a little confused over there. That does happen. But thank you for paying attention.